As the sun begins its descent below the horizon, something remarkable happens within you. Your body knows, even before your conscious mind registers the change, that darkness is approaching. Deep within your brain, a tiny cluster of cells called the suprachiasmatic nucleus begins its nightly ritual, responding to the fading light that enters through your eyes. This ancient timekeeper, no larger than a grain of rice, orchestrates the symphony of your circadian rhythm, preparing you for the transformation that occurs each time day becomes night. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing at the edge of a forest as dusk settles around you. The fading light triggers something primal within your unconscious mind, something that has been passed down through millions of years of evolution. Your ancestors knew that darkness brought both danger and rest, and your brain still carries these ancient memories. As the light dims, your pineal gland, a small pine cone-shaped structure nestled deep in your brain, begins to release melatonin into your bloodstream. This chemical messenger of the night doesn't simply make you sleepy. It actually lowers your core body temperature by nearly 1 degree, preparing your entire system for the restorative journey of sleep. But there's something else happening beneath your awareness. As darkness falls and the world around you becomes less visually defined, your unconscious mind begins to emerge more prominently into your conscious experience. Psychologists have discovered that in low light conditions, people become more introspective, more in touch with their inner emotional landscape. The darkness, rather than simply being an absence of light, becomes a canvas upon which your deeper self can project its hidden thoughts and feelings. Think about the last time you lay in bed in complete darkness, unable to sleep. Perhaps you noticed how your thoughts seemed different than they do in daylight, how they wandered into territories your conscious mind usually keeps carefully guarded. This isn't coincidence or imagination. Research has shown that darkness actually reduces activity in the brain regions responsible for analytical thinking and executive control. Your prefrontal cortex, that sophisticated part of your brain that makes plans and judgments, begins to quiet down in the absence of light. Meanwhile, the more primitive, emotional centers of your brain, the limbic system, become relatively more active. Your unconscious mind has been working all day, processing information beneath your awareness. Every face you passed on the street, every conversation fragment you overheard, every fleeting emotion you barely registered, all of this information has been absorbed and is being sorted, categorized, and stored. Scientists estimate that your unconscious mind processes approximately 11 million pieces of information per second, while your conscious awareness handles only about 40. The darkness of night is when much of this unconscious processing becomes integrated into memory and understanding. As you settle into the evening, your body continues its automatic preparations for sleep. Your blood pressure begins to drop, your heart rate slows, and your muscles gradually release the tension accumulated throughout the day. This isn't something you decide to do. Your autonomic nervous system, operating entirely outside conscious control, orchestrates these changes with precision. The unconscious mind is always working, always maintaining, always preparing, like a devoted guardian you never knew you had. There's an interesting phenomenon that occurs in the transition between light and darkness. Psychologists call it the twilight effect, a state where the boundary between conscious and unconscious becomes more permeable. Artists and writers have long known about this liminal time, this in-between space where creativity flows more freely. As external stimulation from light decreases, your internal world becomes more vivid. Dreams that you'll experience later in the night are already beginning to form in the shadows of your unconscious mind, weaving together the day's experiences with deeper emotional themes. Consider how differently you feel about problems when you encounter them at night versus in the bright light of morning. This isn't merely about fatigue. The absence of light actually changes how your brain evaluates threat and processes emotion. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system for detecting danger, becomes more reactive in darkness. This ancient adaptation helped your ancestors survive, making them appropriately cautious when they couldn't see potential threats. But in your modern bedroom, this same system can amplify worries and anxieties, making them seem larger and more overwhelming than they truly are. Yet darkness also offers something profound, the gift of letting go. When you close your eyes and surrender to the night, you're engaging in an act of trust that your unconscious mind will continue its essential work of healing, processing, and restoring your body and mind. Sleep isn't simply rest. It's when your brain consolidates memories, strengthens neural connections, and quite literally cleanses itself of the metabolic waste that accumulated during waking hours. Your unconscious mind knows exactly what to do, following patterns established over millions of years of mammalian evolution. As we continue this journey together through the night, allow yourself to simply be present with these ideas, letting them wash over you like gentle waves. Your conscious mind can rest now, knowing that your deeper self, your unconscious mind, is always watching, always working, always caring for you in ways you'll never fully comprehend. The darkness is not your enemy. It is the doorway to renewal, to dreams, and to the mysterious depths of your own inner world. In the depths of night, when consciousness begins to loosen its grip, you enter what Carl Jung called the realm of the shadow. But this shadow is not what you might think. It's not evil or frightening. Rather, it's the repository of everything you've ever experienced but couldn't fully process in the bright light of day. Your unconscious mind holds these experiences gently, patiently, waiting for the right moment to reveal their wisdom to you. There's a fascinating discovery that neuroscientists have made about what happens when you first begin to fall asleep. In those initial moments of drowsiness, your brain doesn't simply shut down. Instead, it enters a unique state called hypnagogia, a threshold between waking and sleeping where your brain produces theta waves, the same brainwave pattern associated with deep meditation and creative insight. In this twilight state, your unconscious mind becomes more accessible, and people often experience vivid imagery, sudden solutions to problems, or profound realizations. Thomas Edison famously used this state deliberately, holding ball bearings in his hand as he dozed in his chair. When he fell deeper into sleep, the bearings would drop and wake him, allowing him to capture the creative insights from this fertile mental territory. As you sink deeper into the night, your body continues its remarkable unconscious work. Your immune system becomes more active during sleep, releasing proteins called cytokines that help fight infection and inflammation. Your unconscious mind doesn't distinguish between physical and emotional healing. While you sleep, it works on both simultaneously, processing emotional experiences from your day and integrating them into your broader life narrative. This is why you sometimes wake with a different perspective on yesterday's troubles. Your unconscious has been quietly rewriting the story, finding new meanings and connections you couldn't see in daylight. Consider the curious phenomenon of sleep paralysis, which occurs naturally every time you enter REM sleep. Your brainstem sends signals that effectively paralyze your voluntary muscles, preventing you from acting out your dreams. This happens entirely without your conscious knowledge or permission, a perfect example of how your unconscious mind protects you even while you sleep. Occasionally, people wake while this paralysis is still in effect, experiencing a brief moment of being unable to move. While this can feel frightening, it's actually your unconscious mind's safety mechanism working exactly as designed, a bodyguard that never sleeps even when you do. The darkness of your bedroom plays a more active role in your psychology than simply allowing you to sleep. Studies have shown that people are more likely to be honest with themselves about difficult truths when they're in darkness. The absence of light creates a sense of privacy from the outside world, even from your own self-judgment. Psychologists call this the darkness disclosure effect. In darkness, the parts of yourself you keep hidden during the day, the doubts, the fears, the secret hopes, can finally emerge and be acknowledged. Your unconscious mind uses this cover of darkness to bring forward material that needs your attention, gently pushing it across the threshold into conscious awareness. Throughout the night, you'll cycle through different stages of sleep, each serving a distinct purpose in the unconscious mind's maintenance routine. During deep slow-wave sleep, which typically occurs in the first half of the night, your brain's glymphatic system activates. This is essentially your brain's waste disposal system, and it works 10 times more efficiently during sleep than during waking hours. Cerebrospinal fluid pulses through your brain tissue, washing away toxic proteins that accumulated during the day, including beta amyloid, the protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. Your unconscious mind is literally cleaning house while you rest, maintaining your cognitive machinery for tomorrow. But perhaps most intriguing is what happens to your sense of self during sleep. That constant internal narrator, the voice that tells you who you are and what you should be doing, finally falls silent. In its absence, your unconscious mind can work without interference, making connections your conscious ego might reject as illogical or threatening. This is why dreams often feel bizarre or nonsensical. Your unconscious doesn't follow the rules of conscious logic. It speaks in symbols, in feelings, in images that blend past and present, fear and desire, memory and imagination. There's a powerful therapeutic principle that emerges from understanding this nocturnal psychology. Simply trusting the darkness, accepting that your unconscious mind is working on your behalf, can reduce the anxiety that often keeps people awake. Insomnia is frequently caused by the conscious mind's refusal to let go, its insistence on trying to control what happens next. But sleep cannot be forced or controlled. It can only be allowed. When you stop fighting the darkness and trust your unconscious mind to do what it has done every night of your life, sleep comes naturally, the way a river flows downhill. Around you, the darkness holds space for transformation. Every night, you die a small death to your waking self and are reborn in the morning slightly changed, subtly different. Your unconscious mind has spent the night reorganizing your neural networks, strengthening some connections and weakening others, quite literally rewiring your brain based on what you experienced and learned today. The person who wakes tomorrow will be neurologically different from the person who lay down tonight, shaped by the invisible hand of unconscious processing. Rest now in this understanding. Your conscious effort is not needed here. The darkness is doing its work, and your unconscious mind is the master of this domain. Let yourself sink deeper into the night, trusting the ancient wisdom of your own depths. As you drift deeper into the night's embrace, you approach the threshold where dreams begin to emerge. These aren't random firings of neurons as scientists once believed. Your unconscious mind is speaking to you in its native language, a language older than words, composed of images and emotions that bypass your rational defenses. Each dream is a letter from your deeper self, written in symbols only you can fully decode. There's something remarkable that happens approximately 90 minutes after you fall asleep. You enter your first REM period, and your eyes begin to move rapidly beneath your closed lids, as if watching a movie that only you can see. During this time, your brain becomes nearly as active as it is when you're awake, but the activity is concentrated in different regions. Your visual cortex lights up brilliantly, creating the vivid imagery of dreams, while your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the part that handles logic and self-awareness, remains quiet. This is why dreams feel so real in the moment, why you don't question their impossible scenarios. Your unconscious mind has temporarily suspended your critical faculties, allowing you to experience without judgment, to feel without analysis. But here's what makes this truly fascinating. During REM sleep, your brain is actually more active in processing emotions than it is during waking hours. Your amygdala and limbic system work intensively, taking the emotional experiences of your day and weaving them into dream narratives. This emotional processing serves a crucial function. When you dream about something that frightened or upset you, you're experiencing it again, but in a safe context where your unconscious mind can help you practice different responses, imagine different outcomes, or simply release the emotional charge the experience carried. This is why people who are prevented from dreaming often show signs of emotional instability. The unconscious mind needs this time to metabolize your feelings. Consider how light, even when your eyes are closed, continues to influence your unconscious processing. Your eyelids aren't completely opaque. Photoreceptors in your eyes can detect light even through closed lids, and this information travels to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, helping maintain your circadian rhythm throughout the night. But there's another pathway as well. Light information reaches your amygdala, affecting your emotional state even while you sleep. This is why sleeping in complete darkness leads to deeper, more restorative sleep. Your unconscious mind can fully commit to its nighttime work when it's not constantly monitoring environmental light levels. Throughout your dreams, your unconscious mind is conducting what neuroscientists call memory consolidation, but this term doesn't capture the creative brilliance of what's actually happening. Your brain isn't simply filing memories like papers in a cabinet. It's actively experimenting with them, combining disparate experiences, finding patterns and connections you never consciously noticed. A conversation you had last week might combine with a childhood memory and yesterday's worry to create something entirely new: insight, understanding, or creative inspiration. Your unconscious mind is an artist, constantly remixing the raw material of your life into new forms. There's a particularly poignant aspect of dream psychology that reveals the unconscious mind's deep care for your well-being. Research has shown that dreams tend to focus on unresolved emotional concerns, on problems you haven't yet solved, on relationships that trouble you. Your unconscious isn't trying to torture you by bringing these things up. Instead, it's attempting to help you work through them, presenting scenarios where you can practice, process, and eventually integrate these difficult experiences. Each nightmare, each anxiety dream, is actually your unconscious mind's attempt at healing, like a therapist who keeps gently bringing you back to the issue that needs attention. The darkness of night also affects your memory in unexpected ways. Studies have found that emotional memories are strengthened during sleep, while neutral memories are often weakened or forgotten. Your unconscious mind is making editorial decisions about what's important to keep and what can be discarded. It prioritizes emotional experiences because these are the ones most likely to be relevant to your survival and well-being. In this way, each night of sleep shapes not just who you'll be tomorrow, but how you'll remember who you were yesterday. There's an ancient wisdom in various cultures about the importance of dreams, and modern neuroscience is now confirming what these traditions always knew. Your dreams aren't just mental noise. They're problem-solving sessions conducted by your unconscious mind. Research has demonstrated that people are more likely to solve complex problems after sleeping on them, and this isn't just because they're rested. During sleep, your unconscious mind literally works on the problem, approaching it from angles your conscious mind would never consider, freed from the constraints of logical thinking and conventional approaches. As the night deepens and you cycle through multiple dream periods, your unconscious mind is also regulating your emotional baseline for tomorrow. People who get insufficient REM sleep show increased activity in their amygdala the next day, making them more reactive to negative stimuli and less able to regulate their emotions. Your unconscious mind knows how much dreaming you need and will compensate if you've been sleep deprived, giving you more REM sleep than usual until the balance is restored. This is called REM rebound, and it's one of many ways your unconscious constantly monitors and adjusts to keep you healthy. Settle deeper now into the darkness, knowing that while you rest, extraordinary work is being done. Your dreams are not interruptions to sleep but essential aspects of it, your unconscious mind's way of processing, healing, and preparing you for the tomorrow that's slowly approaching. Trust this process that's older than humanity itself, this nightly journey into your own depths where transformation happens in the language of symbols and the currency of emotions. In the deepest hours of night, when the world outside has grown completely still, you descend into the most profound stages of sleep. Here, in what scientists call slow-wave sleep, your brain produces delta waves, the slowest and largest brainwaves you're capable of generating. These rolling waves move across your brain like ocean swells, coordinating a symphony of restoration that your conscious mind will never witness but will certainly benefit from when morning comes. During these deep stages, something extraordinary happens to your consciousness itself. If someone were to wake you during slow-wave sleep, you would feel disoriented, confused, as if pulled from the very bottom of an ocean. This isn't merely grogginess. Your sense of self, that narrative identity you carry through your waking hours, has temporarily dissolved. Your unconscious mind is taking you to a place beyond ego, beyond personality, to a realm of pure physiological restoration. In this state, you're not dreaming stories about yourself because, temporarily, there is no self to dream about. You've returned to a kind of primordial awareness, or perhaps more accurately, to a state of necessary absence. Your unconscious mind uses this time of deep unconsciousness to conduct crucial maintenance on your body. Growth hormone is released in pulses during slow-wave sleep, particularly in children and adolescents but continuing throughout life. This hormone doesn't just promote physical growth. It repairs tissues, builds muscle, strengthens bones, and maintains the health of your organs. Your unconscious has a schedule for this release, a timing perfected over millions of years of mammalian evolution. Interrupt this sleep, and the hormone release is disrupted, the repair work left incomplete. There's a fascinating relationship between darkness and your body's ability to regulate blood sugar. During deep sleep, your cells become more sensitive to insulin, allowing your body to process glucose more efficiently. This happens automatically, orchestrated by your unconscious mind's careful regulation of various hormones. People who consistently get insufficient deep sleep often develop insulin resistance over time, their unconscious regulatory systems gradually losing their ability to maintain metabolic balance. The darkness of night isn't just when these processes happen, it's actually a signal that helps coordinate them. Consider the remarkable fact that your brain shrinks slightly during sleep. This isn't damage or deterioration. Your neurons actually reduce in size by about 15%, creating more space between cells. This space allows cerebrospinal fluid to flow more freely through your brain tissue, carrying away metabolic waste products that accumulated during the day. Your unconscious mind has engineered an elegant solution to the problem of brain maintenance, transforming your sleeping brain into something like a self-cleaning system. Come morning, your neurons expand again, the extracellular space disappears, and you wake with a brain that's been quite literally washed clean. The silence and darkness of deep night also affects your psychological state in subtle but important ways. Your unconscious mind uses this period of minimal external stimulation to process and organize memories without interference. Think of it like a library that can only be reorganized when all the patrons have gone home. During slow-wave sleep, memories are being transferred from temporary storage in your hippocampus to longer-term storage in your cortex. But it's not a simple transfer. Your unconscious mind is deciding what to keep and what to discard, what to emphasize and what to diminish, essentially editing your autobiography even as you live it. There's another aspect of deep sleep that reveals the unconscious mind's protective nature. Your arousal threshold increases dramatically during slow-wave sleep, meaning it takes much louder or more significant stimuli to wake you. This isn't random. Your unconscious has determined that the restoration happening during this time is so crucial that you should only be awakened for truly important reasons. Yet remarkably, even in the deepest sleep, your unconscious mind continues to monitor your environment. A mother in deep sleep might not wake to street traffic but will instantly respond to her baby's cry. Your unconscious can distinguish between sounds that matter and sounds that don't, making split-second decisions about what deserves your conscious attention. Throughout these deep hours, your cardiovascular system enters its own period of restoration. Your blood pressure drops to its lowest point of the 24-hour cycle, giving your heart and blood vessels a chance to recover from the demands of the day. Your heart rate slows and becomes more regular, your breathing deepens and steadies. These aren't things you're doing, they're being done for you by unconscious systems that have kept humans alive and healthy since our species first walked the earth. This automatic regulation is so reliable, so consistent, that you've probably never once consciously thought about it, even though it happens every single night of your life. Deep sleep also plays a crucial role in immune function that scientists are only beginning to fully understand. During slow-wave sleep, the production of certain immune cells increases while inflammatory markers decrease. Your unconscious mind is coordinating a delicate balance, ramping up your defenses against potential threats while simultaneously reducing inflammation that could damage your own tissues. This is why people who are sleep-deprived get sick more easily and recover more slowly. Their unconscious immune regulation has been compromised, the timing thrown off, the careful orchestration disrupted. Rest here in the depths, knowing that profound work is occurring in the darkness. Your unconscious mind has taken you to this place of deep restoration for a reason. Everything that will be required of you tomorrow, all the thinking and feeling and doing, depends on the work being done right now in these quiet hours. The darkness holds you safely while your deepest systems renew themselves, preparing you for the return to consciousness that will come with the dawn. As you pass through the middle of the night, you enter what might be called the midnight garden, a time when your unconscious mind tends to its most delicate psychological work. The hours between midnight and 4 in the morning have a particular quality, a depth that the earlier evening doesn't possess. In these hours, the boundary between your conscious and unconscious mind becomes especially thin, almost translucent, and material from your deepest self can more easily rise to the surface. There's a phenomenon that psychologists have observed about creativity and the unconscious mind that becomes especially relevant in these deep night hours. When your prefrontal cortex is quiet, as it is during sleep, your brain makes more distant and unusual associations between ideas. This is called hyperassociative thinking, and it's the source of those moments when you wake with the solution to a problem that seemed impossible the day before. Your unconscious mind has been working through the night, trying combinations of ideas that your conscious, logical mind would have immediately rejected as irrelevant or illogical. Sometimes the answer to what you seek lies not in thinking harder, but in allowing your unconscious to think differently. During the night, your body temperature continues its gentle decline, reaching its lowest point usually around 4 or 5 in the morning. This isn't a failure of your body's heating system but a carefully orchestrated change managed by your hypothalamus. The slight cooling of your core temperature is actually necessary for deep sleep to occur and be maintained. Your unconscious mind knows that certain types of cellular repair work more efficiently at slightly lower temperatures. This is why people who sleep in overly warm rooms often report feeling unrefreshed in the morning. The unconscious temperature regulation has been fighting against external heat all night, unable to complete its cooling protocol properly. Consider how your sense of time dissolves in the darkness of sleep. Without external cues from light and without conscious awareness, your brain loses its usual temporal anchoring. Minutes can feel like hours in a dream, or hours can pass in what seems like seconds. This timelessness isn't a malfunction but rather reveals something profound about how your unconscious mind operates. It doesn't experience time the way your conscious mind does. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the unconscious, which is why dreams can blend childhood memories with yesterday's experiences and fears about tomorrow into a single narrative moment. The darkness of night also influences something called cortisol awakening response, though the preparation for this begins hours before you actually wake. Around 3 or 4 in the morning, your unconscious mind begins gradually increasing cortisol production, preparing you for the transition back to consciousness. This isn't the harmful stress cortisol you might have heard about. It's a natural, healthy pulse of this hormone that helps you transition from sleep to wakefulness, giving you energy and alertness for the coming day. Your unconscious is so attuned to the rhythms of light and dark that it begins preparing for dawn while you're still deeply asleep. There's a fascinating discovery about how emotional memories are processed differently depending on when during the night they're consolidated. Early in the night, during your first cycles of REM sleep, your brain tends to process and integrate positive emotional experiences. Later in the night, during the REM periods that occur in the hours before dawn, your brain focuses more on processing negative or threatening experiences. Your unconscious mind has a strategy here, building up your positive emotional resources before dealing with the more difficult material. It's almost as if your unconscious knows you need to feel emotionally secure before you can safely process what frightened or hurt you. In these deep night hours, your unconscious mind is also conducting what might be called emotional triage. Not every emotional experience from your day needs the same level of processing. Your unconscious is deciding which experiences need intensive dream processing, which can be filed away with minimal attention, and which might need to be brought back to your conscious awareness when you wake. This sorting process is invisible to you, happening entirely beneath conscious awareness, yet it profoundly affects your emotional well-being and psychological health. There's something else happening in these midnight hours that reveals the unconscious mind's remarkable intelligence. Your brain is practicing skills you learned during the day, strengthening neural pathways even while you sleep. If you learned a new physical skill yesterday, your motor cortex is rehearsing it during the night. If you studied new information, your hippocampus is replaying those learning sessions, often at higher speed, helping to cement the knowledge into long-term memory. This nocturnal practice happens without any conscious effort or awareness. Your unconscious mind is literally making you better at things while you sleep. The darkness that surrounds you is not empty or passive. It's an active participant in your psychological restoration. Studies have shown that sleeping in complete darkness leads to better mental health outcomes, including lower rates of depression and anxiety. The darkness signals to your unconscious mind that it's safe to fully disengage from vigilance, to completely commit to restoration and processing. Any light, even small amounts, can keep parts of your unconscious alert system engaged, preventing the full depth of psychological rest that true darkness allows. As the night continues its slow arc toward morning, trust that your unconscious mind knows exactly what it's doing. Every cycle of sleep, every dream, every period of deep delta wave unconsciousness, serves a purpose in the grand choreography of restoration and renewal. The midnight garden is being tended by a gardener you'll never meet, your own unconscious self, working tirelessly to help you grow, heal, and prepare for another day of living. As you rest in the embrace of night, your unconscious mind is engaged in one of its most remarkable tasks, the construction and reconstruction of your memories. Memory isn't what most people think it is. It's not a recording, not a video stored somewhere in your brain that you can replay with perfect accuracy. Instead, each memory is more like a story that your unconscious mind rebuilds each time you recall it, using pieces stored in different regions of your brain, assembled fresh each time, and slightly altered with each reconstruction. During sleep, this process of memory construction becomes especially active. Your hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain, engages in something called memory replay. It literally replays the neural patterns of your daily experiences, but at a speed that's remarkably faster than real time, sometimes up to 20 times faster. Your unconscious mind is reviewing the day's events like someone watching a recording on fast forward, deciding what's important enough to transfer into your cortex for long-term storage. But here's what makes this fascinating: the unconscious doesn't just store these memories. It edits them, extracts patterns from them, connects them to older memories in ways that create new understanding and insight. The darkness of night plays a crucial role in this memory consolidation process. Light exposure, even through closed eyelids, can disrupt the delicate neural orchestration required for effective memory formation. This is why people who work night shifts or who have irregular sleep schedules often report memory difficulties. Their unconscious memory systems are trying to operate during times when light exposure is signaling that it should be awake and alert, creating a biological confusion that interferes with the consolidation process. Your unconscious mind needs the darkness to know when to shift into its memory processing mode. There's a particularly intriguing aspect of memory processing that occurs during sleep called memory integration. Your unconscious mind doesn't just store individual experiences in isolation. It actively searches for connections between new memories and existing knowledge, weaving new experiences into the larger tapestry of your life story. This is why you might go to sleep puzzled by something and wake up understanding it better. Your unconscious has spent the night connecting the puzzle piece to the larger picture, finding where it fits in the context of everything else you know. Consider how your unconscious mind prioritizes which memories to strengthen and which to allow to fade. Emotional experiences receive preferential treatment, being rehearsed more frequently during sleep and thus becoming more deeply embedded in long-term memory. But it's not just the strength of the emotion that matters. Your unconscious also considers relevance, novelty, and how well the experience connects to your existing knowledge and concerns. In this way, Your unconscious is constantly curating your memory, shaping the narrative of who you are by choosing what you'll remember clearly and what will gradually fade into the background. During the night, there's also a process called synaptic homeostasis happening in your brain. Throughout the day, as you learn and experience new things, synapses, the connections between neurons, are strengthened. If this continued indefinitely, your brain would become oversaturated with connections, making it difficult to distinguish signal from noise. During sleep, your unconscious mind carefully weakens many of these synaptic connections, keeping the important ones and allowing less relevant ones to fade. This isn't forgetting in the negative sense. It's selective optimization, your unconscious mind making sure that tomorrow you'll be able to focus on what matters rather than being overwhelmed by irrelevant details. There's a beautiful paradox in how the unconscious mind handles memory during sleep. While it's strengthening certain memories, making them more permanent and accessible, it's simultaneously allowing you to forget the emotional intensity associated with traumatic or painful memories. This process, sometimes called emotional depotentiation, is why old hurts often lose their sting over time. Your unconscious mind preserves the lesson, the important information from the experience, while gradually reducing the emotional pain attached to it. Each night's sleep is a small step in the healing of old wounds, done so gradually and gently that you never notice it happening. The architecture of memory that your unconscious builds during the night is also forward-looking. Research has revealed that during sleep, your brain doesn't just process past experiences. It actually simulates possible futures, running through scenarios and possibilities based on what you've learned. Your unconscious is preparing you for tomorrow by imagining various versions of it, pre-processing potential challenges and opportunities. This is why people often wake with a sense of how they want to approach their day, even if they can't articulate exactly why they feel that way. The unconscious has already done some of the planning work. In these quiet hours, your sense of personal identity is being subtly reshaped by the memory work your unconscious is doing. Who you think you are is really just the story you tell yourself about your past, and that story is being edited every night. Memories that no longer serve you gradually lose their prominence. New understandings of old events emerge as your unconscious connects them to recent experiences. The person you'll be when you wake is slightly different from the person who fell asleep, not because your experiences have changed, but because your unconscious mind has changed how those experiences are organized and understood. Let yourself rest in the knowledge that this intricate work is happening beneath your awareness. Your unconscious mind is building the foundation of tomorrow's consciousness, selecting and arranging memories, creating the narrative continuity that allows you to wake up knowing who you are and what matters to you. The darkness protects this delicate work, and your deep sleep allows it to proceed without interference from conscious thought or worry. In this hour of deep night, your unconscious mind reveals itself as a healer of remarkable subtlety and power. While you rest in darkness, systems you never consciously think about are working to repair damage, restore balance, and prepare your body and mind for the demands of another day. This healing doesn't announce itself. It happens in silence, in the depths, guided by an intelligence that predates human consciousness itself. There's a fascinating process that occurs during sleep called autophagy, which literally means self-eating. This might sound alarming, but it's actually one of your body's most elegant healing mechanisms. During the night, your cells begin breaking down and recycling damaged proteins and cellular components that accumulated during the day. Think of it as your unconscious mind conducting a microscopic cleanup operation in every cell of your body, removing the debris and dysfunction that daily living inevitably creates. This process is enhanced during fasting periods, which is why the overnight fast between dinner and breakfast has such powerful effects on cellular health. Your unconscious knows when to activate this cellular renewal, timing it perfectly with your sleep cycle. The relationship between darkness and your hormonal balance is more intricate than most people realize. During sleep, your unconscious mind orchestrates a complex dance of hormone release and suppression. Ghrelin and leptin, the hormones that regulate hunger and satiety, are rebalanced during the night. When you don't get enough sleep, this balance is disrupted, and your unconscious regulatory systems begin sending confused signals about hunger and fullness. This is why sleep-deprived people often feel hungrier and make poorer food choices. The unconscious wisdom that normally guides your appetite has been thrown off balance by insufficient darkness and rest. Consider the remarkable way your unconscious mind handles pain during sleep. As you descend into deeper stages of sleep, your perception of pain actually decreases. This isn't because the pain itself goes away, but because your brain changes how it processes pain signals. Your unconscious mind is providing you with relief, giving your body a chance to heal without the constant stress response that pain triggers during waking hours. People with chronic pain often find that even a modest improvement in sleep quality can significantly reduce their pain levels. The unconscious healer works best when given adequate time in darkness. During these night hours, your unconscious is also regulating inflammation throughout your body. Inflammation is part of your immune response, necessary for fighting infection and healing injuries, but chronic inflammation damages tissues and contributes to numerous diseases. Sleep is when your unconscious mind calibrates this delicate balance, producing anti-inflammatory signals that prevent your immune system from becoming overactive. The circadian timing of this process is so precise that inflammatory markers in your blood follow a predictable daily rhythm, lowest during the night when your unconscious healing systems are in full operation. There's another dimension to the healing work of sleep that touches on something deeper, the healing of your psychological self. During the night, your unconscious mind processes not just the events of your day but the emotions attached to those events. Psychologists have found that sleep, particularly REM sleep, helps to decouple emotional intensity from memories. You remember what happened, but the sharp edge of how it felt gradually softens. This is why the old advice to sleep on it before making an important decision is actually neurologically sound. Your unconscious mind will process the emotional aspects of the situation during the night, often leaving you with a clearer, less emotionally reactive perspective in the morning. The darkness of your sleeping environment affects your body's production of antioxidants, molecules that protect your cells from damage. Melatonin, that hormone of darkness released by your pineal gland, isn't just a sleep signal. It's also one of the most powerful antioxidants your body produces. As melatonin circulates through your system during the night, it's actively protecting your DNA from oxidative damage, neutralizing harmful free radicals, and supporting cellular repair. Your unconscious mind has arranged for this protection to be strongest when you're most vulnerable, when you're asleep and unable to consciously respond to threats. There's a particularly moving aspect of how the unconscious mind heals emotional trauma during sleep. Research on PTSD and other trauma-related conditions has revealed that REM sleep plays a crucial role in processing traumatic memories. During REM, your brain can revisit traumatic experiences in a neurochemical environment that's actually different from waking consciousness. Noradrenaline, a stress hormone, is suppressed during REM sleep, allowing your unconscious mind to process the trauma without triggering the full stress response. It's as if your unconscious has created a safe container where difficult memories can be examined, processed, and gradually integrated without overwhelming you. Each night of good sleep is a small step in healing from past hurts. Your unconscious mind is also busy during these hours repairing the blood-brain barrier, a crucial protective structure that keeps harmful substances out of your brain. During waking hours, this barrier can become slightly more permeable due to the stress and activity of consciousness. During sleep, particularly deep slow-wave sleep, this barrier is reinforced and repaired. Your unconscious knows that protecting your brain is paramount, and it uses the quiet hours of night to strengthen these defenses, ensuring that tomorrow you'll be able to think clearly and function optimally. Rest now in the knowledge that you are being healed in ways both obvious and subtle. Your unconscious mind is tending to wounds you didn't know you had, strengthening systems you've never consciously thought about, and preparing you to meet tomorrow with renewed resilience. The darkness is not merely the absence of light but the presence of profound restoration, and your unconscious is the skilled physician working through the night to make you whole. As you move through the night, your sleep follows a pattern as ancient as the tides, a rhythm that your unconscious mind orchestrates with remarkable precision. These sleep cycles, each lasting roughly 90 minutes, are not random fluctuations but carefully designed stages that serve different purposes in your physical and psychological restoration. Your unconscious knows exactly when to move you from one stage to the next, creating a symphony of consciousness and unconsciousness that repeats throughout the night. There's something profound about the cyclical nature of sleep that mirrors larger patterns in nature and in your life. Just as the earth cycles through seasons, just as the moon waxes and wanes, your consciousness cycles between different states throughout the night. Each cycle takes you from light sleep down into deep slow-wave sleep and then up into REM dreaming before beginning again. But here's what makes this remarkable: each cycle is slightly different from the last. As the night progresses, you spend less time in deep sleep and more time in REM sleep. Your unconscious mind is following a developmental arc through the night, doing different kinds of work at different times, as if it has a carefully planned agenda for your restoration. The timing of these cycles is influenced by something called the circadian process and the homeostatic process working together. Your circadian rhythm is like an internal clock, keeping time based on the rotation of the earth and the cycle of light and dark. The homeostatic process, on the other hand, builds up sleep pressure the longer you're awake, like a battery gradually draining. Your unconscious mind integrates information from both systems, calculating precisely when you need sleep, how much sleep you need, and what kind of sleep you need most urgently. This biological mathematics happens entirely without conscious input, managed by systems that operate far below the threshold of awareness. Consider how your unconscious mind adjusts these cycles based on your recent experiences. If you've been sleep deprived, your unconscious will increase the proportion of deep slow-wave sleep, prioritizing physical restoration. If you've been through emotionally intense experiences, you'll spend more time in REM sleep, allowing for extra emotional processing. Your unconscious is constantly monitoring your needs and adjusting the sleep architecture accordingly. It's personalized medicine of the most sophisticated kind, tailored uniquely to you and your current state, recalibrated every single night. During these cycling stages, your brain waves create patterns that researchers can measure with electroencephalography. What's fascinating is that these brainwave patterns aren't just markers of sleep stages, they're actually functional, serving specific purposes. The slow waves of deep sleep, for instance, help to synchronize neural firing across different brain regions, allowing for efficient transfer of information from temporary to long-term storage. Your unconscious mind is using these coordinated waves like a conductor uses a baton, bringing different sections of your neural orchestra into harmony. There's a particular phenomenon called the first night effect that reveals how sensitive your unconscious monitoring systems are to environmental changes. When you sleep in a new place, you often don't sleep as well the first night. This happens because your unconscious mind keeps one hemisphere of your brain slightly more alert than usual, monitoring for potential threats in the unfamiliar environment. It's called unihemispheric sleep, and while humans don't do it as dramatically as dolphins or birds, we retain a vestigial version of this ability. Your unconscious is being protective, sacrificing some sleep quality to ensure your safety until it's determined that the new environment is secure. The relationship between your sleep cycles and your creative unconscious is particularly intriguing. The transition periods between sleep stages, those brief moments when you're neither fully in one stage nor the other, are times of especially fluid consciousness. Your brain is more likely to make unusual connections during these transitions, linking ideas that would never be associated during normal waking consciousness. Some of history's greatest insights and discoveries have come during or immediately after sleep, not by accident, but because the unconscious mind cycling through different states creates opportunities for novel thinking that rigid waking consciousness doesn't allow. Your unconscious also uses these cycles to regulate your emotional baseline. Research has shown that the proportion of REM sleep in the later cycles of the night, those that occur in the hours before dawn, is particularly important for emotional regulation. People who are awakened before completing these later REM periods show increased emotional reactivity and decreased ability to regulate their moods the next day. Your unconscious mind needs the full arc of the night's cycles to properly calibrate your emotional systems for the day ahead. Throughout these cycles, your unconscious is also managing your relationship with consciousness itself. Each time you cycle up from deep sleep toward REM sleep, you come closer to waking consciousness, but your unconscious knows when to let you wake and when to send you back down into deeper sleep. It's monitoring the time, assessing whether you've had enough rest, checking whether restoration is complete. When the time is right, when your unconscious has finished its night's work, it will gently release you from sleep's embrace and allow consciousness to return. Settle into the rhythm of these cycles, trusting that your unconscious knows the dance by heart. You don't need to understand or control this process. It's older than thought, more reliable than intention, guided by an intelligence that has kept living beings cycling between consciousness and unconsciousness for millions of years. Let the waves of sleep carry you, rising and falling, as your unconscious mind does its work in the darkness. As the night begins its slow turn toward morning, though you remain deeply asleep, your unconscious mind is already preparing for the transition ahead. These pre-dawn hours hold a particular magic, a time when the work of the night begins to integrate into something you'll carry forward into the day. Your body and mind are being readied for consciousness, gently, gradually, in ways so subtle you'll never notice them happening. In these hours before dawn, your REM periods become longer and more intense. Your dreams grow more vivid, more elaborate, sometimes more emotionally charged. This isn't random. Your unconscious mind is conducting its final processing of the emotional material that needs attention before you return to waking life. These extended REM periods are when the most important emotional integration happens, when your unconscious makes its final edits to how you'll feel about yesterday's events when you wake. The dreams you remember upon waking often come from these late-night REM periods, as if your unconscious is leaving you messages about what it's been working on. There's a fascinating phenomenon that occurs in the pre-dawn hours related to your body's preparation for activity. Your core body temperature, which has been at its lowest point around 4 in the morning, begins to gradually rise again. This warming isn't triggered by any external heat source but by your unconscious mind's precise timing mechanisms. Your metabolism begins to increase, your digestive system starts to wake up, and various hormones begin shifting from their nighttime patterns to their daytime configurations. All of this happens while you're still deeply asleep, your unconscious orchestrating a complex awakening sequence that will unfold over the next hour or two. Consider how your unconscious mind handles the transition from the timeless realm of dreams back to the structured, linear time of waking consciousness. In dreams, causality is loose, time flows in all directions, and impossible things happen routinely. But as you approach waking, your dreams often become more realistic, more grounded in the possible. Your unconscious is building a bridge back to consensus reality, gently guiding your consciousness from the fluid symbolic world of dreams toward the more rigid structures of waking thought. This transition is so skillfully managed that you usually don't notice it happening at all. During these pre-dawn hours, there's also a surge in the production of certain neurotransmitters that will help you feel alert and motivated once you wake. Serotonin production increases, contributing to mood stability and emotional balance. Dopamine levels begin to rise, preparing your brain's reward and motivation systems for the day ahead. Your unconscious mind is essentially preparing your neurochemical environment so that when consciousness returns, you'll have the resources you need to engage with life. This is why natural waking, when your unconscious completes this preparation on its own schedule, feels so different from being jolted awake by an alarm before the process is complete. There's something deeply wise about how your unconscious mind uses these final hours of sleep to prepare you for social interaction. Research has shown that during late-night REM sleep, your brain processes social and emotional information in ways that enhance your ability to read facial expressions, interpret social cues, and respond appropriately to others' emotions. Your unconscious is literally rehearsing social cognition while you sleep, fine-tuning the skills you'll need for the day's interpersonal encounters. This is why sleep deprivation often makes people seem socially awkward or emotionally tone-deaf. They've missed this crucial period of unconscious social preparation. The quality of light in your environment, even with your eyes closed, begins to influence your unconscious preparation for waking. As dawn approaches and ambient light levels rise, photoreceptors in your eyes detect these changes even through closed lids. This information travels to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, which then signals your pineal gland to reduce melatonin production. Your unconscious is using environmental cues to time your awakening, coordinating your internal processes with the external world. This is the natural way humans have awakened for most of our history, guided by the slow brightening of dawn rather than the jarring shock of an alarm. During these transitional hours, your unconscious mind is also doing something remarkable with your sense of self. Throughout the night, your ego, that sense of being a separate, bounded individual, has been largely absent. But as morning approaches, your unconscious begins reconstructing this sense of self, preparing you to once again experience yourself as a distinct entity navigating the world. This reconstruction happens so smoothly that you wake up with a continuous sense of identity, never realizing that for hours you existed in a state where the boundaries between self and other, between inner and outer, were much more fluid. There's a physiological shift that occurs in these pre-dawn hours that affects your stress response system. Your adrenal glands, under direction from your unconscious control centers, begin increasing cortisol production in what's called the cortisol awakening response. When working properly, this creates a healthy surge of cortisol that peaks about 30 minutes after you wake, giving you energy and alertness. But this process begins while you're still asleep, your unconscious timing it perfectly so that you'll wake with vitality rather than grogginess. This is yet another example of how your unconscious is always working ahead, preparing you for what's coming before you consciously know you need it. Rest in these final hours of sleep, knowing that while you remain unconscious, you are being prepared for consciousness. Your unconscious mind is completing its night's work, integrating all the processing, healing, and restoration into a coherent foundation for the new day. The darkness is beginning to release you, gently, gradually, as dawn approaches and your unconscious judges that you're ready to return to the waking world. As the first light of dawn begins to touch the edges of the world, you remain suspended in that delicate space between sleep and waking, a liminal zone where your unconscious mind performs its final acts of preparation. This threshold time has been recognized across cultures and throughout history as a moment of particular power, when the veil between unconscious and conscious is at its thinnest, when insights can flow most freely between the depths and the surface of your mind. There's a remarkable thing that happens to your brain's default mode network as you approach waking. This network, which is active when your mind is at rest and not focused on the external world, begins to increase its activity. During deep sleep, this network was relatively quiet, but now, as consciousness approaches, it starts lighting up again. This network is involved in self-reflection, autobiographical memory, and thinking about the future. Your unconscious is essentially rebooting your sense of narrative self, preparing you to pick up the story of your life where you left it yesterday evening. Without this activation, you would wake disoriented, unsure of who you are or where you fit in the world. In these moments before full waking, your unconscious is making final adjustments to your emotional state based on the night's processing. If you've been working through difficult emotions during the night, you might wake with a sense of resolution you can't quite explain. If your dreams have been working through creative problems, you might wake with unexpected solutions. Your unconscious has been sorting, organizing, and integrating all night, and now it's delivering the results to your conscious mind in a form you can use. This is why many people report their best ideas coming in the shower or during their morning routine. They're finally conscious enough to receive what their unconscious prepared during the night. Consider the role that light plays in this final transition from sleep to waking. As dawn light increases, even if you're sleeping in a darkened room, subtle changes in ambient light reach your eyes through closed lids. This activates specialized cells in your retina called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, which communicate directly with brain regions that regulate alertness and mood. Your unconscious uses this information to fine-tune the timing of your awakening, ensuring it's synchronized with the natural day-night cycle that has governed human life since our species began. This is biological poetry, your internal rhythms harmonizing with the rhythm of the spinning earth. During these final minutes of sleep, there's often what sleep researchers call a partial arousal, a brief moment where you almost wake but then slip back into sleep. These micro-awakenings serve a function. Your unconscious is testing the waters, so to speak, checking if you're ready to fully return to consciousness. If there's still essential processing to complete, you'll drift back into sleep. If the night's work is done, the next partial arousal will continue into full waking. Your unconscious is being careful, making sure you're truly ready before releasing you from sleep's protective embrace. The relationship between your unconscious mind and your breathing changes as you approach waking. During deep sleep, your breathing was controlled entirely by your brainstem, following automatic patterns optimized for rest and restoration. But as you near consciousness, your cortex begins to reassert some control over breathing. This shift is so subtle you'd never consciously notice it, but it represents a profound change, the return of voluntary control, the re-engagement of will and intention. Your unconscious is gradually handing the controls back to your conscious self. There's a phenomenon that sometimes occurs in this threshold state called hypnopompia, the mirror image of the hypnagogy you experienced when falling asleep. In this state, you might experience vivid imagery, hear sounds, or have brief hallucinations as your brain transitions from the dream state to full waking consciousness. This isn't a malfunction but rather a normal part of how your unconscious bridges these two very different modes of being. Some of your greatest insights and creative inspirations can come during these hypnopompic moments, when the symbolic logic of dreams meets the analytical logic of waking consciousness. Your unconscious mind is also managing your transition from the internal focus of sleep to the external focus of waking. During sleep, your attention has been directed inward, processing memories, emotions, and internal states. But as you wake, your sensory systems need to turn back outward, to receive and process information from the environment. This reorientation happens gradually, coordinated by your unconscious. First, you become aware of your body, then of sounds and sensations, and finally, you open your eyes and direct your attention to the visible world. Each step is carefully sequenced to avoid overwhelming your newly awakening consciousness. In these final moments before waking, your unconscious performs one more crucial task. It helps you forget most of your dreams. While this might seem counterintuitive, it's actually protective. Most dreams are working dreams, processing and organizing information that doesn't need to burden your conscious mind. Your unconscious selectively allows you to remember dreams that carry important messages or insights while letting the majority fade away. This forgetting is an act of mercy, preventing your conscious mind from being cluttered with the symbolic debris of the night's processing work. As you hover in this space between sleeping and waking, trust that your unconscious has completed its work. The night has been a journey through darkness, through the depths of your own mind, through processes of healing, integration, and transformation that happen entirely outside your conscious awareness. Your unconscious mind has been your faithful guardian through these hours, protecting you, restoring you, preparing you. And now, as light returns to the world, you are ready to return to consciousness, carrying with you the gifts of the night even if you can't name them or see their traces. The darkness has done its work, and morning is here. As consciousness begins to return, like a tide slowly coming in, you carry with you the profound work that your unconscious mind has accomplished through the night. The transition from sleep to waking is not an abrupt switch but a gradual dawning, and in this gentle emergence, you can sense how different you are from the person who lay down hours ago. Your unconscious has been silently transforming you, and now you begin to inherit the fruits of that transformation. There's a critical window of time immediately upon waking that neuroscientists call the sleep inertia period. For the first 5 to 30 minutes after you wake, your brain is still partially in sleep mode. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for complex decision-making and self-control, is the last part of your brain to fully come online. This is why you might feel groggy or make poor decisions immediately upon waking. Your unconscious is still reluctant to fully release you, still completing final processes that need just a few more minutes. This sleep inertia is actually protective in a way, giving you a buffer zone where you're not immediately thrust into the demands of full conscious functioning. Consider what happens to your sense of time as you wake. During sleep, especially during dreams, time was elastic, unreliable, sometimes non-existent. But as you return to consciousness, your brain's timekeeping mechanisms gradually re-engage. Your sense of past, present, and future solidifies once again. Your unconscious is rebuilding your temporal framework, reconstructing the linear narrative of time that conscious life requires. Within minutes of waking, you'll know what day it is, what you did yesterday, what you need to do today, all because your unconscious has successfully restored your place in the flow of time. The morning light that enters your eyes as you wake serves a function far beyond simply allowing you to see. This light exposure, particularly the blue wavelengths abundant in morning sunlight, triggers a cascade of responses in your brain and body. It suppresses any remaining melatonin, increases cortisol and serotonin, and essentially tells your entire circadian system that day has begun. Your unconscious uses this light information to set your biological clock for the next 24 hours. This is why getting bright light exposure early in the day is so crucial for maintaining healthy sleep patterns. You're helping your unconscious synchronize with the Earth's rotation. There's a beautiful reciprocal relationship between your conscious intentions and your unconscious processes that becomes evident in the morning. As you wake and begin to think about your day, to plan and intend, you're not starting from scratch. Your unconscious has already been preparing for this day during your sleep, processing relevant memories, consolidating learning, and even pre-activating neural networks related to your goals and concerns. When you consciously decide to tackle a task, your unconscious has already laid groundwork you're not aware of, making that task more achievable than it would have been without the night's sleep. In these first moments of waking, your unconscious is also recalibrating your stress response systems for the day ahead. The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which governs your response to stress, reaches a crucial calibration point in the morning. How you wake, whether naturally and peacefully or to a jarring alarm, whether you immediately check stressful news or allow yourself a gentle transition, all of this influences how reactive your stress systems will be throughout the day. Your unconscious is taking cues from your morning experience to set the sensitivity of your stress responses, which is why morning routines matter more than many people realize. There's a phenomenon that occurs in the early morning hours related to cognitive performance that reveals ongoing unconscious processes. Different cognitive abilities come online at different rates as you wake. Simple tasks and routine behaviors return quickly, but complex problem-solving and creative thinking often aren't at their peak until a few hours after waking. Your unconscious needs time to fully activate the neural networks required for these higher-level functions. This is why many people find they think more clearly and creatively mid-morning rather than immediately upon waking. Your unconscious is still booting up, so to speak, bringing systems online in a carefully orchestrated sequence. Consider how your emotional state upon waking reflects the night's unconscious processing. Sometimes you wake with feelings you can't immediately explain, a sense of anxiety or excitement or peace that seems to come from nowhere. These feelings are actually messages from your unconscious, the emotional residue of the night's dream work and processing. Your unconscious is communicating with you through these mood states, letting you know what issues might need attention or what opportunities your deeper self has identified. Learning to pay attention to these morning emotions is a way of staying in dialogue with your unconscious throughout the day. The act of remembering your dreams, if you do, is itself an interesting window into how consciousness and unconsciousness interact. Dream memories are fragile, stored differently than other memories, and they fade rapidly upon waking unless you actively try to hold on to them. Your unconscious designed dreams to be ephemeral, to serve their purpose during sleep without necessarily cluttering your waking consciousness. But when you do remember dreams, you're catching a glimpse of the symbolic language your unconscious speaks, getting a rare look at how your deeper mind represents and processes your life experiences. As you fully wake and begin to move, to engage with the physical world, you might take a moment to appreciate the miracle of what your unconscious has accomplished. While you were completely unaware, lost in sleep and dreams, your body has been maintained, your memories organized, your emotions processed, your immune system strengthened, your brain cleaned and restored. You wake as a renewed being, ready for another day of consciousness, another cycle of experience, another turn of the great wheel of sleeping and waking that defines human existence. The light has returned, and with it, you return to yourself, different in subtle ways from who you were yesterday, shaped by the invisible hand of your unconscious mind working through the darkness. As we come full circle in this journey through darkness and light, through consciousness and the unconscious depths, it's worth reflecting on the profound partnership you have with the parts of yourself you never directly see or know. Every day of your life, you engage in this ancient rhythm, surrendering to sleep, trusting your unconscious mind to carry you through the night, and then returning to consciousness renewed. This cycle is so fundamental to human existence that you can't truly understand what it means to be human without understanding this dance between light and darkness, between conscious awareness and unconscious process. There's a deep wisdom in the way evolution has designed this system of sleep and waking. Your conscious mind, remarkable as it is, cannot sustain itself indefinitely. It needs to regularly surrender control, to step back and allow the unconscious to do work that consciousness cannot do for itself. This built-in humility, this necessary acknowledgement that consciousness alone is not sufficient, is perhaps one of the most important lessons the sleep-wake cycle teaches. You are more than your conscious awareness. You are a vast ecosystem of processes, most of which operate in darkness, beneath notice, yet without which your conscious life would be impossible. Consider how the relationship between darkness and light, between sleep and waking, mirrors other fundamental dualities in existence. Day and night, birth and death, creation and dissolution, all these pairs exist in necessary relationship, each defining and enabling the other. Without darkness, light would have no meaning. Your unconscious mind embodies this principle of necessary complementarity. It's not inferior to consciousness or merely a support system. It's an equal partner in the creation of your experience, operating by different rules, serving different functions, but absolutely essential to your wholeness. The unconscious mind's relationship to time is particularly profound when you consider the full span of your life. Every night's sleep is a small death, every morning's waking a small rebirth. Over decades, you'll spend roughly a third of your life asleep, a third of your existence given over entirely to unconscious processes. This isn't time wasted or stolen from life. It's time invested in maintenance, restoration, integration, and transformation. The person you become over the course of your life is shaped as much by what happens during these unconscious hours as by what happens during your waking ones. Every memory consolidated, every emotion processed, every creative insight prepared during sleep contributes to the unfolding of who you are. There's something almost sacred about the trust required to fall asleep each night. You let go of control, release your grip on consciousness, and faith that you'll return in the morning. This daily practice of surrender is perhaps the most consistent spiritual practice humans engage in, whether they think of it that way or not. You trust your unconscious to maintain your life while consciousness is absent. You trust the darkness to hold you safely. You trust that the morning will come and you'll be ready for it. This trust is usually automatic, so habitual that you never think about it, but it represents a profound relationship with the parts of yourself that operate beyond awareness. The interplay between conscious goals and unconscious processing reveals the partnership between these aspects of self. When you consciously work on a problem, practice a skill, or try to learn something new, you're really initiating a process that your unconscious will complete. Your conscious effort plants seeds that your unconscious cultivates during sleep. This is why persistence over time, showing up day after day, is so powerful. You're not just accumulating conscious practice. You're giving your unconscious multiple opportunities to process, integrate, and strengthen what you're learning. The conscious and unconscious are collaborators, each contributing what the other cannot. There's a beautiful mystery at the heart of sleep that science may never fully unravel. Despite all we've learned about brain waves, neurotransmitters, circadian rhythms, and sleep stages, the subjective experience of consciousness fading into sleep and then returning at dawn remains fundamentally mysterious. Where does your consciousness go during dreamless sleep? What is the nature of the awareness, if any, that experiences dreams? These questions touch on the deepest mysteries of existence, the relationship between physical brain and subjective experience. The nightly journey into unconsciousness and back is a journey into mystery, a reminder that despite all our knowledge, the nature of consciousness itself remains one of the universe's great unknowns. As you consider the role of darkness in human psychology, it's worth noting that our modern world has profoundly disrupted our relationship with natural darkness. Electric lights, screens, 24-hour schedules, all of these innovations of the modern world work against the natural rhythms that your unconscious mind evolved to follow. The unconscious needs darkness, needs the clear signal of night, needs the restoration that comes from honoring the ancient pattern of light and dark. When you protect your darkness, when you create spaces and times of true darkness in your life, you're not just improving your sleep. You're honoring your unconscious, acknowledging its needs, maintaining the conditions it requires to do its essential work. The future of each new day is being shaped during the darkness of the night that precedes it. The consolidation of yesterday's learning, the processing of yesterday's emotions, the restoration of physical systems, all of this unconscious work determines who you'll be and what you'll be capable of tomorrow. In this way, sleep isn't an interruption of life but an essential part of life's unfolding. The darkness isn't the opposite of growth and development but the necessary condition for it. Just as seeds germinate in the darkness of soil, your potential develops and matures in the darkness of sleep, guided by unconscious processes that work best when consciousness releases its grip and allows the deeper intelligence to operate freely. As this journey through the psychology of darkness and light comes to a close, perhaps the most important understanding to carry forward is this: you are a partnership. Consciousness and unconsciousness, waking and sleeping, light and darkness, all of these exist within you in necessary relationship. Neither is complete without the other. Your conscious self, the you that thinks and plans and decides, is made possible by the vast unconscious self that maintains, processes, and prepares. And your unconscious self, for all its power and intelligence, needs consciousness to interact with the world, to learn and grow and live. Honor this partnership. Protect your darkness as carefully as you pursue your light. Trust your unconscious as much as you exercise your conscious will. Give yourself to sleep as fully as you give yourself to waking life. In doing so, you honor the full reality of what you are, not just a conscious mind but a complete human being, living in the dance between awareness and mystery, between light and darkness, between the known and the unknown. The circle is complete, and it begins again with every sunset, every closing of eyes, every surrender to sleep. May your journey through darkness always bring you safely to the light, renewed and ready for whatever comes next.